Today to show you how to just do a lasagna, or a bit more subtle, for mesothelioma patients. Okay, I recently lost my husband through mesothelioma, my warrior, John. During his treatment, John's appetite changed dramatically, so I had to adapt a lot of ways of cooking things. So I also used the Royal Marsden cookery book, which gave me a lot of ideas to help. This is my own recipe, but with a twist, okay? Rather than using pasta, which my husband found very heavy, I'm going to use aubergines to lay it. Also, mincemeat. The mincemeat I'm going to use today is an ordinary mincemeat, just beef mincemeat, but you can change it and adapt it to whatever you want to use, okay? When he was really ill, I used a vegetarian pasta.
These are the ingredients: 1 tin of chopped tomatoes, 1 pint of milk, grated cheese, chopped mushrooms, 1 white onion, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 bell pepper, 2 aubergines, 500 grams of minced beef, oregano, 50 grams of butter, salt and pepper, half a tube of tomato puree and 2 teaspoons of paprika, 50 grams of plain flour.
Everything I've done, I've prepared it all. I've just chopped all the mushrooms, the peppers, I opened the tins of tomatoes, and all my spices are all ready. I'm just going to show you how to cut the aubergine, because some of you may not know how to use it. Okay, I'm going to use this knife. Okay, firstly, I'll just chop the top off. That's not going to be any use to us. Then I'm going to slice it straight the way down. Now you can either do it like that or like this. Okay, I'll just show you. All this is, try and do it as thinly as you can, because what we're going to do is we're going to lightly grill it. Okay, so just all I'm doing is slicing right the way through. This is why I needed this type of knife to go right through, rather than the blunt edge knife. It doesn't matter if some of the pieces are slightly thicker than the other. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So all we're doing is slicing away. Okay, this last piece will be a bit difficult, so watch your fingers. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to lightly grill this. Okay, so it has to be lightly grilled just to give it a bit more flavour. So what we're going to do is take our tray with some light oil. Some people like to just use loads of olive oil. I like to use olive oil, but it's a spray. It's a bit lighter and not as heavy. Okay, so all we're doing, we're just going to lightly spray this baking tray, and we're just going to lay our aubergines either way like this. Yeah? I'll put the other two on another tray in a moment. Okay, so now, all I'm going to do now, because that other side will be oiled, a light spray again across the top, and then just a little bit of salt to draw out the flavour. Okay, my oven is on, and all I do is pop that in the oven for about 5-10 minutes. You'll know because it will brown. When it's browned on that side, take it out, turn them over. Then they'll be cooked then. The oven is on 180.
Ew.
Go. Okay. Now it's time to get our mince ready. Okay, our bolognese ready, as I call it. A nice pot to do our mincing, and this pot here is to do our saucing a bit later on. We'll go through that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, our pan on there on a lowish heat. We don't want it too high to burn, so just on a lowish heat. Some olive oil, just a tiny bit, and then we're going to add garlic and onions. I've chopped all the onion, just one onion, and a couple of cloves of garlic. Garlic is down to you how many you want to use. Okay, so in goes our onion, in goes our garlic, all chopped. Up to you how many cloves you want to use. Sometimes mesothelioma patients don't like a lot of garlic. Some of them don't like it at all. It just depends. John liked his garlic, so I was okay with that. It was other flavours that he struggled with. Okay, so we just let that go see-through. Nothing else, just see-through. Our onions go see-through. That will take a couple of minutes. You can have a look. We're ready now. Our onion has gone see-through, so we're now ready to add our mincemeat. Yeah. So, anyway, just fry it all in and mush it all down. We're going to add now some salt. And some pepper, just for seasoning. All we're doing now is browning the meat, okay, because it will get fully cooked in the oven once everything is added to it. Okay, so we're just basically browning the meat, okay, and letting it dry out slightly. Okay, we're now at the moment, the way it is now, so it's cooking. I'm going to add the 1 teaspoon, just 1 level teaspoon of paprika. Okay, some people add it a bit later. I like to add it into the meat so that it soaks into the meat. It's always a lot nicer, and there's always like that smoky smell. It's really nice. Okay, some people don't like it. As I said, you adapt your version of lasagna to what your partner, husband, patient, whatever way they like to have their lasagna. Okay, they will let you know. The problem we have with chemo patients is their taste buds go and they totally change. The foods that John used to love, I had to adapt because he still expected me to cook him the same type of meals, but he couldn't handle half of the ingredients. So I have to be careful what herbs I use, what peppers, tomatoes, all things like that. We have to be careful of what we're doing. And as I go on for the other cooking lessons, I'll show you how to do change certain little things. Okay, this is just one way of making John's favourite dish is lasagna without the pasta because it was too heavy for him. Our mincemeat's nicely brown now. We don't want it to dry it out too much. Okay, some people like to dry it out a bit more than that, but I like a bit of moisture. Okay, we're going to start adding the rest of our ingredients. Now I'm using a yellow pepper or orange pepper, whatever you want to call it. Some people like red, some people like green. I'm just using yellow for today. Okay, you can choose any colour pepper you like. 1 whole pepper is enough. And then our mushrooms. Okay, I've chopped them all up ready, all washed, and in the pan we go. You just give that a stir. We're done. Okay, now I'm going to add tomato puree. Now this is optional. Some patients do not like too much tomato, but I like the tomato and John used to like the tomato puree. Okay, so we're going to add, that's just half a tube of tomato puree added to it. Mix it all through. It gets into the meat. As I say, even when you're doing this with the vegetarian mince, which is called
Corn.
Remember the name of it then. Luckily I've got my son filming me at the moment. Don't expect this treatment every time, guys. Okay, now I'm going to add the tomatoes. Just 1 tin of chopped tomatoes. In they go. One thing I will say to you when you're doing this, if you want to use just fresh tomatoes, I have done that in the past, but the problem is I have to peel all the skin off the tomatoes. After John's chemo, he couldn't digest the skin, so every tomato had to be peeled. I'm just going to lower this down. There we go. And just let that simmer for a bit. Okay, and now I'm just going to turn over the aubergines. Okay, just turn them all over, just so that they're the same consistency on both sides. Doesn't matter if it's laid, it's fine. They will be going into the oven. All I'm doing is turning them over. There we go. Back in the oven they go. As you can see, I've got 2 trays because I've got 2 aubergines. Now, the meal I'm cooking is enough for 4 to 5 people, okay? You cut down on whatever suits you. If there's just 2 of you, when I was cooking for John, I just used ½ a pound of mincemeat, 1 aubergine, and you halve all your ingredients, okay? If there's only 2 of you there, there's no need to cook a big lasagna. But what I will say is, most of the time I did cook a big lasagna because I can freeze it for the following week. So I haven't got to cook it twice.
That's a great idea.
So it just makes your life a little bit easier if you just go to the oven, into the freezer, sorry, take it out, let it defrost and warm it through. It's all homemade produce. There's nothing in here that's preserved. It's all fresh produce. Okay? We're going to let that simmer for a little bit because we're finished here now. So all I'm going to do is put the lid on. And the next step is our sauce, which my son literally is terrified of because he can never get it right.
Yeah. Can't do mum's sauce.
Okay, so now it's time for our sauce. Okay, easiest sauce you can make. People want to buy it, you don't know what's in it, so make your own. Okay, all I've got is 50 grams of melted butter. Here, I'm just going to lower this gas down. Okay. I have got 50 grams of flour and more or less a pint of milk. Okay, 1 whisk. All I'm doing is, I'm going to add a flour, it's just plain flour, to plain flour to the butter. And there it is, it's done. You get that consistency. You can add more flour if you wish, which I think I might just add a little bit more flour because it's a bit more, but normally 50 grams of each. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit more flour. Only because I want the proper consistency. Right, if you look at it, it just goes a bit gooey. You'll see yourself when you're doing it. It just goes a bit gooey. That's it, I'm done. Right, now, it's time to start adding the milk. Now this is the part where people don't like, because you have to slowly add your milk a bit at a time and just keep whisking. Just keep whisking and it will get thicker and thicker and thicker, as you can see. You just keep whisking. And it may look lumpy. It doesn't even matter if it turns out lumpy, it's fine. It goes in the oven and it smooths itself out. But if you're using a whisk, it shouldn't really get lumpy. Okay, every time it thickens up, you add your milk. Okay, so what you need to know is, try and use a full pint of milk. Okay. I found with mesothelioma patients, they get told not to have this, that and the other, a lot of sugar. A lot of people like to have full cream milk. John didn't like full cream milk. I don't like full cream milk. But if they're losing too much weight, you can use full cream milk. Or you can use half cream and half milk. It's entirely up to you. Whatever is adaptable for you, you adapt. Okay, so all I'm doing is adding more milk until it comes to a nice consistency. Okay, as you can see, it's a bit loose at the moment, or shall I say watery. It's only because it's not thick enough. Once the milk gets heated through with the rest of the ingredients, it will thicken up. Okay. In the meantime, by the way, I forgot to say, I've turned off my mincemeat. Okay, just to let it simmer, because it's some people might think, oh, it's not cooked, it's not cooked. We're putting it in the oven, okay? So the oven is already on. Okay, so let's just put that down while I hold this. This is a bit tedious, and that's why people don't like doing it, because you've got to keep stirring it. You don't want it to go thick and lumpy and end up with a skin on it. You really don't want that. And plus the fact it'll stick to the bottom of the pan. We don't want it sticking to the bottom of the pan. And we just keep stirring, keep stirring. Good for our batterings, I think. But as Ames did say, shake it, shake it, shake it. Stir it, stir it, stir it.
Go for those bingo wings.
Yes. Well, one arm anyway. I'll have to figure out some exercises to do for the other arm. I can feel it now, starting to thicken up again. The consistency is getting a little bit thicker, so I must be nearly there. This is the only part that people hate, and it puts them off. So what do? They go and buy a jar of sauce. It's not the same. You don't know what's in it. There's too many additives. When you are cooking for somebody who's ill, you want to know exactly what's in everything. Well, I did anyway. I needed to know what was in everything that I was giving my husband, because he was ill enough as it was without me adding to it with all these additives. Okay. As you can see, it's thickened up nicely now. Now you can either have it at that consistency or add more milk. I'm quite happy with that consistency actually, so I think that's enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is turn the heat off. So turn the heat off, and I'm going to put it to the side there. Leave your whisk in. We don't want it to form a skin, so we leave the whisk in so we can keep stirring it. Okay, there's no heat going through it now, we're just leaving it like that. Okay, now we're going to get prepped for our lasagna sheets, but they're not lasagna sheets, they are aubergine sheets. So now we're ready, our sauce is done, and our bolognese sauce. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold some origami in. You've seen it before, this is the way it looks when we got it fresh from the garden. Yeah, and I've just put it into here. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on top of there and fold it in. We don't want it, I didn't want to add it in beforehand because this is the optional. Some people do not like the taste of the origami, okay? So I'm just going to sprinkle some on the top. And I'm just going to fold that in. And that will, when that's in the oven, it will cook through and the flavours will seep through the meat. Okay, so that's ready to go. Okay, bring this over. So we've got our mincemeat there. Our spoon for serve. I've got our sauce. And a little stir. Okay, and I'll spoon for serving our cheese. And this is our aubergines from the oven. Okay, now all I'm going to do, I'm going to put a first layer of our aubergines on. Okay, oh, notice the way I'm going. Okay, so I'm going to go this way, meat, and then layer that way. You'll see in a moment anyway. Okay, so this is how I'm going to prepare it. The gaps in between, don't worry about, we'll fill those in. Okay? We'll fill them all in. Okay, this is just like a layer so that we haven't got a soggy bottom, to be honest with you. As Mary would say. Okay. Thin pieces. That's our bottom layer done. That's all you need for your bottom layer. Okay, now I'm going to use our sauce. Okay, our first layer of mince. Okay, all to do, make sure it's all stirred. Have a bit closer. Thank you. There we go. All I'm doing is making sure I'm just spreading out the mincemeat to cover that top layer. Okay, so there we go. All I've done is covered the aubergine. I'm now going to add just a slightly bit of cheese. This is also optional, okay? If people don't like the cheese, they don't have to put it on. I've only put a little tiny bit in, okay?
Stick a bit more cheese in, Mary, come on.
The son likes the cheese, okay? So now, all I'm doing is layering it with the sauce, okay? Be as generous or as skimpy as you want, but this bit actually makes the lasagna. Okay, we don't need too much, and we're just spreading it all over. Get the end of your spoon and swirl it around. There we go, all done. Okay, that's our first layer done. Okay, we're now going to lay it again. So because our aubergine was going that way, we're now going to put the aubergines the opposite way. So, excuse my fingers. There we go. Thank you. Some people don't really like the texture of the aubergines, but the flavour at the end is really, really nice.
It's much better than pasta.
Yes, so much lighter than pasta. Okay, so there we go. That's all I'm doing. Now, I'm going to put the rest of the sauce on. Okay, well, the rest of the bolognese, should I say. And all I'm doing is spreading it evenly all the way around. Also, what I like to add, it doesn't matter what stages you do your you put your white sauce on, it doesn't matter. If you forget and put your aubergines down, and you can put the sauce over the aubergine, it doesn't make any difference, to be honest with you. But use all of your sauce, okay? All of your mincemeat, okay? This is just a pound of mincemeat, and this will feed between, as I say, 4 and 5 people. But if there's only 2 of you, still do it big and put half of it in the freezer. You can put it in tubs. Once, my son always prefers it the next day, don't he?
Yeah, definitely.
He always likes us to do lots more so that we can have it the next day. Now I'm going to put the sauce on again.
Cheese.
Oh, sorry, cheese. Yes, sorry, Jonathan. All right.
Can we have a bit more cheese now, Mary?
Yes. Because we pile more cheese on. But it doesn't. You don't have to put it on. But if we're fattening up our meso patients because they've lost so much weight,
And it definitely tastes
it
nicer.
is nicer. Okay, and it's. You don't have to. This is just cheddar cheese, by the way, mature cheddar. You can use any cheese you want, whatever suits you. There's also vegetarian cheese. We had vegan cheese the other week, didn't we, Jonathan?
Yuck.
Yes, it was. The texture wasn't good, but people who are vegan, not taking that away from you. You prefer it, so that's okay. That's okay. So now, I'm going to put the remainder of the sauce on top of this. And because we're only on the top, this is the last layer. Can I just get this spatula, Jonathan? Just one sec. Spatula. Okay, so all we're doing now, spreading it all out. Doesn't have to be even because we're going to smother it with cheese again, and we're going to put the rest of those aubergines on top as well. We waste not anything, okay? So, okay, so now, if you want, just place them on top. Anyway, good job all these surfaces have been scrubbed, Jonathan.
Yep.
Your mum keeps dropping things. Here we go. There we go. That's our lasagna done. All we're going to do, spread some cheese on top. Don't put too much cheese on because you will find it'll go crispy. But in our family, we like the cheese to be crispy on the top.
Oh, yes.
Especially in the corners. They always fight for the corner of the lasagna. Okay, so it's just on the top. You can add more cheese if you want. But
Would you add salt and pepper?
Nope, that's it, done. All done. It's our lasagna cooked. Okay, I'm going to put it in the oven now for about 35 minutes on 180 degrees. Okay, let's do that. On the middle shelf is fine. That's okay. Away we go. Done.
Voila, this is our finished lasagna, topped with a little bit of basil. It can be served with mixed salad. Bon appetit, enjoy!